Roll 'em.
Okay, and these are humor and novelty books, and then this group of paperbacks in here. I'm going to come around here. This is just simply good writing. This is fiction and a couple of nonfiction books that are written by really good writers, and they're just a joy to read. I have a little bit of Annie Dillard in here, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. Shadow Divers by Robert Kurson was a book I heard part of it on radio reading for the blind one day, and it just sounded like a really good read, and I've yet to finish reading. I heard the first 2 or 3 chapters, so I need to read that. And then we've got some Armistead Maupin. I've got a collection. This was probably a textbook, Stories to Remember, and it's got stories by O. Henry, by Edgar Allan Poe, Victor Hugo, Leo Tolstoy, Will James, all the way up to Isaac Asimov. Those are 20th century authors. And these are kind of reference books in here. History of Mathematics, British English A to Z, Courses of Instruction, 1998-99. That's for Harvard University. Mm-hmm. And that's just interesting reading in itself.
Yes.
And then these are a couple of readings in Indiana state history that I never even knew about. I grew up in Indiana, never knew.
Yeah.
This is like a lot of Indiana's historical dirty secrets in here. Uh-huh. And then there's some Ben Franklin books about Boston. These are mostly topographical architectural books about Boston. And then and then these 3 John Taylor Gatto books. These are about education reform,
right?
And a book by Maria Montessori, also about education reform. Okay, and then all these in here are architecture books. These are my architecture books, and some of them are your architecture books.
Yes.
David Macaulay does this wonderful series about how Roman cities were built, how cathedrals were built, what have underground systems of modern day cities. Great Streets is yours, and Plan of Chicago is yours. This is yours, yeah. The Magnificent Builders, Maryland's Colonial Mansions, and then I think these are the ones
all the rest of mine to about I guess.
You mean all the rest are mine?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it doesn't matter. We share them.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, so it's a mix of, but these are all architecture-related books. This little bit right in here is about how to draw architectural drawings.
Right.
And then the rest of these these in here are about houses, specifically small houses, and then it sort of gets into architectural criticism and essays. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this has to do with the failure of suburban sprawl and how real estate development after World War II, while it held a lot of promise and it made things very convenient for people who could drive, it also kind of alienated people from one another, and there's been a more or less a sense of loss in regards to community.
Right.
We have less community and more conveniences.
Right.
So these are along those lines. Then there's James Howard Kunstler, who is a lot more entertaining in his lectures online, mm-hmm. But his books are worth reading. He has very interesting ideas. Then these in here, these are just about New Orleans. This is Frenchmen, Desire, and Good Children is a book about how the streets of New Orleans came to get their names. And this is The Great Deluge by Douglas Brinkley, which is about Katrina. And these are Katrina books. And then this is about the street. Okay. And so these down here, these are all like interior design and style books. Mm-hmm. These have to do with painting and decorating and the style of houses and things like that. And then that sort of segues into office systems, which is about office furniture. And then what's going to go in here is going to be the books that I'm working on over here. And
right.
These all have to do with carpentry. You know what I'll do? I'll just, if you want to see, these have to do with carpentry, house building, and home repair. And that's these books and these books here. These have more to do with home repair. These books down here have more to do with house building.
Right.
And so, And then these books here all have to do with visual art and
Right.
pursuing visual art endeavors and visual art as a career. And so that's where I am. I started with this stack with, you know, the homeowner's guide to carpentry and cabinets and cabinetry. So
Right.
that's where I am. And what I do is like I said, I brush them off. And if they're really dirty, I take this damp sponge. It's been wrung almost all the way out. It's just a little bit damp. And I give this a good rub down. Like this. Do it around the spine. And I take this and I make sure it's dry. And what this does is this cleans them up really nicely. And it makes it so that they're almost like new when when they're nice and clean like this. You know, and also, you know, if there's any coffee stains or beverage stains, you know, this is my chance to get rid of them. And I even go in here, get rid of like, you know, some just you know, like little bits of dust and grime that have
And
gathered.
whatnot.
Yeah, because like I said, the apartment we rented for 7 years, that was 2.5 blocks from here. It was a nice apartment, but the kitchen was not vented, and as a result, a lot of these books have a very thin layer of grime or grease on them. And
There's also no room for bookshelves.
yeah, and we had no room for bookshelves at the other place, so I'm cleaning them. This guy will go right over here next to office systems. And so, you know, basically, you know, house building, home repair, carpentry, shelf building will segue into office systems furniture, which segues into decorating and interior design and house painting and painting colors and themes. And then that goes up to basically, these are a couple of books about big historic mansions, and that leads up to basically the architecture and building section. So, you know, all the books that are near each other are kind of related to one another.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Eddie.